Hey everyone, here today to talk to you about my experience with my septoplasty turbinate reduction and nasal valve repair surgery that I had about 3 months ago. So there's a bunch of these videos on YouTube, but I wanted to sort of give my own take and explain some of the things I wish I knew before I went into it. Everything went pretty well, but there's things I think you should know if you're doing this surgery. So I want to split this into three parts. The first part, which I'm covering in this video, is the research phase. So how did I pick the correct doctor to do this kind of surgery? And how did I know I was ready to get the surgery? And then I'll cover in future videos, what was the recovery like, what was the actual surgery itself like, and so on. So this is the first part. So how did I know I needed to get this kind of surgery? Well, I was born with a severely deviated septum. Let's just say around 99% blocked on one side. So if you looked in there, what you would see is a bunch of bone pushed over all the way to the edge of the nose, and it was completely blocking my airflow. So I wasn't able to breathe at all out of one side for most of my life. Now, around 25 or 26, I also got what's called swollen turbinates. So turbinates are these structures inside your nose that regulate air pressure or something like that. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know exactly, but I know that when they're swollen, they just expand and they cause you to not be able to get airflow through your nose, which is what I had. Then around 27, 28, I got this collapsed nasal valve. And what that is the cartilage in your nose becomes weak. And when you try to breathe in, it'll basically collapse in on itself. And it doesn't let you get any airflow in. So all these things combined together meant I wasn't able to use my nose. I was basically waking up every morning with what felt like a cold, and the cold would not go away throughout the day. And I would just have this amount of pressure in my sinuses. And that's not good if you're trying to do workouts or go to work or do anything. So after a while, I just got tired of it and I wanted to have a better quality life. So I went and got the surgery. So how do you actually pick a doctor once you're convinced that you need the surgery? The first thing I would say you should do, which is what I did, is go to a random ENT. Well, not a random ENT. Just pick one that has a good amount of experience, a high enough rating, they're familiar with this kind of thing, and just tell them you have what you think is a deviated septum or your nose is blocked, have them look in it. They'll do a endoscopy, something or other. Anyway, they stick something up your nose and they'll be able to see what's going on in there with the camera, typically. So they'll confirm that for you. And then what they'll usually have you do is get allergy tested and go on nasal drops for about a month. And it's important that they actually do that because in most cases, from what I've heard, insurance companies in the United States won't cover this type of surgery unless you have proof that they tried these things first. So that was the case with my insurance company. They wanted to see at least a month on these nasal drops. So I did the nasal drops for a month. They wanted to see a clean allergy test because allergies can also cause things like the turbinates expanding and other problems. But the bone in my nose was clearly all the way over to one side. So I needed the surgery anyway. In any case, I did that. And then what I decided to do is research a bunch of different surgeons or people that I thought could do this surgery. So one of them I was considering was the ENT I was talking to, but I also made a list of about 6 other doctors. So what I would recommend is create a spreadsheet. So you create a spreadsheet. Some of the columns I would suggest are the credentials the surgeon has. So, what kind of degree do they have? Where did they go to school? Years of experience, ratings on Google, Yelp, Real Self, health grades, like these type of sites where you can review doctors. So write down all the ratings on these sites. And what you want to see is fairly consistent high ratings, near 5 stars across all the different sites. And then I would also note down any cases of malpractice. In one case, I actually did have a doctor I was considering that had a malpractice problem in their past where they were actually convicted of this. And I don't know if they lost their license, but it was noted down on health grades. And obviously you don't want to go to anybody that's had this kind of problem in their past because there's plenty of doctors that have a clean record. So why take the risk? So write all that stuff down and then sort of narrow your list. Maybe pick the top 3 or 4 top-rated doctors you can find based off of all the reviews you found, and just start talking to all of them. You can also get recommendations from friends and stuff like that. I did that as well. It was kind of hit and miss. So really just get as many as possible and then pick the top 3 or 4 and just start talking to them in person, like schedule appointments. Now, when I did this, I will say there were more mean-spirited doctors than I expected. So a lot of them said things like, "Oh, your nose is the worst I've ever seen. I hope it won't collapse when I operate on it. You have a really bad nose. Maybe I'll make an incision here to fix it. Oh, wait, no, I'll make another one over here." One thing, if somebody ever tells you, maybe, or I don't know, or maybe I'll make this incision, but not this one. Oh, wait, no, that's wrong. And they just don't seem very confident, I would probably just go to the next surgeon, because this is a pretty involved surgery if you have to get all these things fixed like I did, and you want somebody that knows what they're doing, has kind of done this thing before. I would also say pay attention to how they show up to the appointment. I had one guy show up that was like visibly yawning and sleep deprived, and he was sort of irritable, and why would you trust that kind of person to be alert while performing this type of surgery on your face? So make sure that their demeanor is reasonable when they show up to the office. Make sure they have like a decent amount of empathy. They're able to understand your concerns and talk through confidently how they would fix them. They shouldn't be overconfident, but they should be able to explain what they're going to do, and they should know what the plan of action is. Now, another thing I would be really careful about is make sure that your doctor is honest. So I had a surprising number of ENTs tell me, "Oh yeah, I do plastic surgery all the time." But there's a difference between doing plastic surgery and actually being certified to do so. And what does that mean? So there's an American Board of Facial Plastic Surgery. I'll link that below. You can click on that website and you can look up your surgeon's credentials there. And it'll tell you if they're expired, invalid, active, and you want to make sure that they're active and in good standing. That's how you know for sure that the person you're talking to is qualified to do facial plastic surgery, which is basically what this is. Now, when you get to the doctor, you're going to ask some other questions, probably. You might have some side effects you're concerned about. If you're not sure what the side effects are, just do a bit of Googling beforehand. You'll find some of the common ones. Dry nose or some bleeding after surgery. That's perfectly normal. There's another symptom that you might find that some people seem to talk about on YouTube, which is called empty nose syndrome, where it feels like there's no air going through your nose, even though there is, or something like that. I wouldn't worry about this one. It sounds like it's an issue if you watch all these YouTube videos, and there is one guy that seems to complain about it a lot. But from what my surgeon told me, he has about 20 years of experience, and in his 20 years, he has never seen this come up once, not even once in one patient. So what I would say is just pick a good surgeon that knows what they're doing, and you shouldn't have this problem at all. If you do find the videos of that one guy complaining about the symptoms, if you do more research and find the doctor that he went to, the guy has all 1-star reviews and everyone says he's trash. So maybe don't go to this type of doctor, but otherwise really don't worry about this symptom. It's extremely rare and it's just not something that happened to me, and I wouldn't worry about it. Once you're done talking to all these doctors, you should decide which one you want to go with. I personally decided to go with a particular plastic surgeon. And the reason I went with a plastic surgeon over an ENT is plastic surgeons typically have a lot of experience dealing with very complex surgeries on the nose. So people that want a completely different looking nose, they want to do reconstructive procedures, whatever it is. And you want somebody that is not going to be surprised when they get in there and they find something they might not expect. So my thinking was plastic surgeons are more likely to go through many of these similar types of surgeries, and they won't be as surprised as maybe an ENT that doesn't do this all the time. And that seemed to work out well for me. So that's what I would recommend. What else do you need to know before you do this? It is a long recovery process. I don't want to overstate that enough. I would take at least 2 weeks off of work and just chill the whole time. I was able to get out and do stuff after a week, but only at 2 weeks was I able to start exercising again. And the full recovery process, meaning like all the swelling going down, takes months and months and months, even up to a year and a half. So that's it for the first part in this series. The next part I'll probably release in about a week, and it'll cover how the surgery went itself, as well as what the recovery process was like afterward. So if you enjoyed this, please hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you next week.